The Atlanta Hawks have managed to kind of overcome everybody, well, most everybody, having struggled with some sort of injury over the past couple weeks and are really playing high level basketball as a whole. I mean, it hasn't been perfect for Atlanta, but they keep lurking and they're overcoming these injuries and look really, really solid. Impressive win tonight over the Celtics. And look, I made a couple videos recently about the Celtics and how they do not look the same. And that is continuing. Jaylen Brown with a 9 of 27 stinker tonight, at least in terms of offensive efficiency. 11 rebounds, 8 assists is cool, but it just overall, this team is not doing it right now, the Celtics team. But the Hawks, they're taking advantage and they're doing some really, they took advantage tonight and they're doing some really nice things as a whole as a team. I mean, Dyson Daniels, 11 of 14, 23 points tonight. That's phenomenal. Trae Young with a 28 point, 11 assists, 2 steal, 2 block performance. Jalen Johnson, not hyper efficient, but he does put up 14 and 13. And Onyeka Okongwu off the bench with 6 of 13, made 2 threes, 13 rebounds as well, and 19 points. I mean, just getting contributions from a lot of different areas. DeAndre Hunter continues to come off the bench, but continues to play great in that role. Didn't shoot the 3-ball well tonight, but provides another 16 points, 6 rebounds. The depth of this team and their improvement as a whole this year has been very, very impressive. And I really like the fact that they feel like a team that's not just 8 or 9 deep. I feel like they have 11 or 12 real guys that they can put on the court on a night-to-night basis, which gives them the ability to sustain competitive basketball despite injuries. And they have struggled with those recently and managed to come through that still as the 6th seed in the East, looking like a very solid team. So it's been an impressive year for the Hawks and definitely a bounce back season that has shown real progress in Atlanta. And I think it's probably got to be pretty encouraging as a Hawks fan to see this level of progress. Now, what's the ceiling for this roster? I'm not totally sure it has a ridiculously high ceiling, but that's something you can work to improve over the next few years. And I mean, I will say, turning DeJounte Murray into Dyson Daniels and 2 first-round picks, not to mention Larry Nance, who doesn't really play, but it would be a useful player if called upon, I think, as well. That's such a steal of a trade because Dyson Daniels has been freaking awesome. And we'll talk about him and a lot of these other Hawks role players who are having great years here in just a little bit. But before that, I just want to say the fact that this team is 6-4 in their last 10 games and the 6th seed in the East is pretty darn impressive. Overcoming injuries and playing well, only a game and a half back of a 4 seed, which is really, really remarkable. Definitely not where I expected the Hawks to be this season. And it has just been great progress for this team as a whole. And like, I think they have a legit chance to stay out of the play-in. I think that is a real possibility because teams like them, Indiana, Orlando, feel like they're on that similar level of squad, especially with all of Orlando's injury issues. Even with getting Paulo back, they just don't look great as of late. And I do think that they are having some serious injury issues. The Pistons are good, but I think it's a little early for the Pistons to truly be like a top 6 team in the East in all likelihood. Feel like the Hawks are right there lurking with a real opportunity to not have to even make it through the play-in and a chance to potentially be a competitive first-round series. Like, I don't think the Knicks are just going to walk right over the Hawks. I mean, let's just put it this way. If it was Hawks-Knicks in the first round, 3-6 matchup, I'd be intrigued. Let's just put it that way. The Hawks beat the Knicks in the in-season tournament. Trae Young owns the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden. He just does. And like the Knicks have just not had an answer for him the past few years, especially in big moments. And that would be a fascinating series because Knicks fans hate him. He plays his best and definitely looks forward to Madison Square Garden. That would be a blast of a playoff series to watch. I'll just say that. But it'd also be a series where I think the Hawks would have a real chance to win this series. So the thing that has been most impressive about this Hawks team this season, it's not unbelievable, but their defensive rating this year is an improvement. I mean, it's 18. They're 18th in the league in defensive rating, which isn't great, right? But last season they were 27th, and that is a real growth area for this Hawks team. And it's something that I think it hasn't been perfect, and it's never probably going to be perfect when you have Trae Young. And I don't really think Capella or Okongwu are either really elite level defensive centers either. I feel like the center position, as much as Capella and Okongwu is not a bad duo at all, is an area where they could certainly look to improve in the future, and maybe even at the trade deadline. We'll see what happens. But with Trae Young and with a mediocre defensive center duo, they've done a really good job of being an improved defensive team this season. I think Quinn Snyder's done a good job coaching this team. Now, what's fascinating is offensively, their net rating is down to 19th. Last year, it was 12th. They have a negative 1.8 net rating, which is surprising and definitely not something you would expect, but they're actually only 20th best net rating in the league, but they have a winning record at 22-19. So they found a way to win close games, and that is important and impressive. And I think it does overall, like they're a really good passing team. Obviously Trae Young's a big part of that, but they're second in the league in assist percentage, which I think is obviously a very much a Trae Young led stat. But they're a young, talented, interesting team, and the additions of guys like Dyson Daniels and Zachary Reese-Shea and Keaton freaking Wallace, guys like that who are just, you weren't expecting them to be key contributors this year, absolutely have been. I mean, you can say all you want about Trae Young and 23 and 12 at leading the league in assists. The efficiency across the board could certainly be a lot better. He's not really particularly efficient at the rim, and he's never been a hyper efficient three-point shooter, and he's not that this year either. He's flashy, he's fun to watch, he hits some deep, exciting threes, but he's not a hyper efficient player. Offensively, I think Trae's overrated as a scorer, and his playmaking almost gets a little underrated sometimes because people bash him in certain ways and don't appreciate how great of a playmaker he is and how big of a fit that is with guys like Okongwu and Capella, who are not going to be creating for themselves. Now, Jalen Johnson has been awesome this season in terms of his overall efficiency. Three-point efficiency as of late has certainly gone down a bit, but he's having a really good year, averaging 20 and 10, 5 assists a game as well from your power forward is something not a lot of teams can really get. There's a lot of versatility to his game, and he's a great player. Dyson Daniels, look, 31% doesn't seem great from three, and it's not, but it's growth. The fact that he's been able to shoot four threes a game, and he's not completely and utterly atrocious. He's been capable offensively and not a disaster defensively, or sorry, not that. He's been capable offensively, not a disaster on that end, and amazing on the defensive end of the court, has made him one of the brighter young guards in basketball. Maybe not to be a future superstar, but to be a future talent for sure. Leading the league in steals by a significant margin, having a dominant defensive season, arguably the best defensive guard in all of basketball this year, and he's been decently efficient inside the arc as well. Very much showing why he was a high lottery pick just a couple years ago, and I'm certain New Orleans is kicking themselves for giving up on Dyson Daniels because he's been awesome. Shout out to DeAndre Hunter as well. Interesting development in DeAndre Hunter's game this year. He has taken a massive jump, and I didn't see it coming. He's 43% from three on over 6 attempts a game, which is crazy in itself. But he's also really developed as an off the dribble player, more as a scorer than as a playmaker. But if you look at his usage numbers for his career, his usage percentage prior to this year, highest career is like 20.6, 20.2. He's a 24.6 usage percentage this year, which is a significant jump. He has become a much better off the dribble player and a much more consistent high level shooter, shooting by far a career high from three and scoring a career high across the board while still being an impactful defender and developing that off the dribble secondary scoring game that I think the Hawks have needed from him. Again, another guy who's showing why he was a top 5 pick. He looks like it, and it's year like 6 or 7 for him. So it's baffling that he's taken this type of jump at this point in his career, but he has, and he's been really, really good. And he's accepted his bench role for the most part this season, come out of the bench in all but 2 games, and yet playing great, averaging 19-4 on great efficiency. Bogdan Bogdanovic isn't shooting the 3-ball well this year. I think that'll go up. He's always proven to be a good shooter. He's a good bench scorer in his own right and a useful key player. I do not know who freaking Daquan Plowden is. Literally had never heard that name, but he scored 19 points in 25 minutes in one game. So shout out to him. We'll see if he gets more opportunities as well. And Okongwu has been solid off the bench. Does not shoot the 3-ball well, but he did shoot it well tonight. And I think there is a potential for growth in his shooting ability. Around the rim, he's very efficient, 62% at the rim, which is inside the arc, which is mostly at the rim, which is very good. Averaging 11 and 7. Wish he was maybe a little bit better defensively, and it's the same thing you can say about Capella. Capella's kind of a double-double machine, but not an impressive double-double machine. He'll go out there and give you 11 and 9 or 9 and 10 or maybe 12 and 10 on a good night. And you know what? He's still incredibly efficient around the rim. Well, not incredibly, but he is efficient around the rim. And that's about it. I mean, Capella, I think, is a little bit, in some circles, I think he's overrated because of the name recognition from those years he spent with Harden and stuff like that. But he's still an effective lob threat, and he's still a useful player and a good player. Larry Nance Jr. has not gotten all that much run this season, has definitely gotten less opportunity, but in the minutes he has played and in the games he has played, he's been very solid. Garrison Matthews, high-level three-point shooter, useful bench contributor. Vic Krejci has been really, really solid as well off the bench and in some starting roles, as well as had himself a couple good moments. Keaton Wallace had a 27-point performance earlier this week. High-level, intense defensive point guard who's also shooting the 3-ball well, 38.6%. Kaysen's brother looks to be kind of in that similar Kaysen mold as a player, having himself a very solid year. And even David Roddy, almost 40% from 3 as well. The depth of this team is the valuable thing, is they have Trae Young, and then they've surrounded Trae Young with versatility, defense, 2 lob catching bigs, and just a roster in general that is well suited to what Trae does well and is overperforming expectations this season. Will it last? I'm not certain, but I don't really see why not, because I think they have the recipe to success. And while it's not success that's going to result in a title, it's success that certainly creates a building block for future seasons and to build upon and grow this core together. They're showing real progress, and I think they have a real chance to not only make the playoffs, but potentially win a round. Would not be totally stunned if the Hawks did that. They've been very impressive this season and deserve real credit for the progress that they have shown. So hope y'all did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more NBA content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.